don't worry. Elena!
Give it up!
Hi, hello, thank you for being here. I want to thank Richard for inviting me and to all the team of What Design Can Do for organizing this amazing event. I am a cook, and honestly, I would rather be in the kitchen than talking. However, when Richard went to Mexico and he explained me what the event was about, and he asked me if I wanted to talk, I immediately said I did, although later I regretted it a little bit. However, chefs are very close related to climate changes. We have a responsibility. And in that sense, I want to explain a little bit what we do in our restaurant. I have a restaurant in Mexico City. Well, we have a couple, but in one especially, we work with a changing menu. And in that sense, we design food. When I was saying that we have a big responsibility, it's because every single choice we decide when doing a dish makes an impact. As I'm sure you must know, farming in the last century has been really dramatic because it has been industrial farming, most of it. Monocultures have really been a big damage instead of doing polycultures. We are doing loads and loads of chemicals and using fertilizers, and the genetically manipulation, it's growing, and just it's making the soil getting more poor every day. Cattle and animals are being, just eating so much, and the amount of water they need, it's just too much. So, me as a chef, this is the restaurant we have. The restaurant, it's situated in Colonia Roma, which is in the center part of Mexico. And it's a restaurant that, in a way, I would say we are activists. Because even if many people would say why a chef has to talk about it, I think we really do it through the dishes we make. I'm going to be more specific, talking about this dish that I think exemplifies what I mean. These are insects that actually I brought some, I smuggled them in the airplane, so you will try them in a few minutes, and are called cocopaches. Cocopaches are insects from the central part of Mexico. And as you know, in the Mexican diet, insects are important and have been important since pre-Hispanic times. However, many people are not used to eat insects, and especially in big cities, we are just, apart from that. We love to include some insects in our menu for many reasons. Of course, because they are sustainable and because they have an amount of protein that it's important, but especially because they are delicious. So the mix of deliciousness and sustainability, for me, it's just like a fantastic thing to use. The flowers, I'm sure many of you can recognize them because I know you can get them also in the Netherlands. In Mexico, you can see these flowers even in the sides of the streets. They are weeds and they grow very easily. They don't need water. They like resilient soils. However, we get these flowers because we need a lot and we need to make sure they are not full of pesticides. We get them from the Chinampas. The Chinampas, it's a very, well, these are just more pictures of what we are talking about. These are the leaves of the nasturtiums. And here it's a map where you can see Colonia Roma, where we are located, and Xochimilco, where the Chinampas are located. And it's where most of our produce comes from. It's about 15 kilometers away from the restaurant, which for Mexico is not that much. And it's amazing to have this kind of place in the city. They are canals. Mexico, a long time ago, used to have a big lake. However, when the Spaniards came, this lake almost disappeared. But since the 9th century, this way of farming has been going on. So as you see, they are lakes, and there's a row of these trees, which are the trees of this area. And with the trees, the lyriums, the grass, and all the plants in that area, the inhabitants make the Chinampas, which is these islands that are, this is a drawing that you can see better how they are done. But basically, with all the mud and all the plants, they do these islands that they are not too big, but they are intended to grow crops. As you see in the right side, they say cultivos, which means crops. And there's the canals, and they are being like this since many centuries. Although they were abandoned for many, many years, now we are trying, well, this is a picture from the 20s, but now we are trying to reestablish this system of food production. So we bought one of these pieces of lands, one of these Chinampas, and it's really beautiful how it works, because what happens, and you see in this picture, is that the mud from the bottom of the canals gets collected, and a rectangular of about 3 meters by 4 meters with 10 centimeters deep, it's made. And this reticle, it's done in a very simple and archaic way. However, in this and each of the small squares, a small hole, it's done with the thumb. In each of these holes, a seed gets there, and it gets germinated after 1 month. Here is a bit more clearly. This is amazing, because usually in other types of farming, this is done but with plastic systems. And also, this material of the mud, it's very nutritious. So most of the seeds that are there will germinate. After 1 month, these little plants will be transplanted and will be like this. It looks like this when they are like in the outer beds. As you see, there's a big biodiversity. And what we do and how we work in the restaurant, it's we come once a week at least to the Chinampas to collect what we have available here. So our menu, it's decided on what it's available, not the other way around. Sometimes, for example, now that it's the tomato season, we have many dishes in the menu that are related to tomatoes. So this is really how we like to work. Never to force nature, and always to adapt to what we can get. In a city like Mexico, many people is not that conscious as here about climate change. In a way, we have been more sustainable in our growing. However, lately, less and less. There's also important to mention that in the Chinampas, it's not only about the crops. It's also about all the flora and fauna that gets there and that has been reestablished with the reestablishment of each Chinampa. And also, in the social side, the people from the Chinampas, the Xochimilcans, have returned to their tradition, to what they know, to their office, even young people. So this is also part of what makes us very happy. Here you see just a more detailed picture of the insect you will try very soon. Here even more. It's beautiful, and I hope you will try them, because insects, I understand them as a sustainable, but also as a seasoning, as a umami flavor, and for us, they are like jewels. So, well, soon you will taste them. But the important thing is that this is just an example of how we do dishes, but also I brought these other pictures that show how, apart from the insects and the leaves and the herbs, we have a menu mostly based on vegetables. Vegetables are important for us. For example, in this mole, which is a white mole that is usually served with animal protein, this one is only served with carrots. White mole, it's a mole that is served usually in weddings, and it's a full plate. It's full of nuts, it's full of ingredients that make it super good for you. These are wild mushrooms that, this picture was taken like a week ago, that it starts with the rainy season. And we also use mushrooms on top of mole. This is a mole made out of chicatana, which is another insect. It's a flying ant. So for me, this is design. And through design, we can make more approachable food that otherwise would be more difficult to approach or to taste. These are papalo, which is a herb that grows wild, and it's also very tasty. And when we have abundance of this type of herbs, we do this salad, for example, that it has avocado and just all these quelites and herbs that grow wild. So I think design is a great tool for chefs, because really, through design, we can make our guests, our consumers, more conscious of our biodiversity. And also, through design and through these dishes, we can make people understand how important it is to eat with the cycles of the nature. So then they will do that at home. It's just like a chain. We are just in the middle of communicating all this. For me, also, it's important to say that as a chef, the importance of all comes through appealingness and also through deliciousness. Because if a dish is not delicious, even if it's sustainable, it won't make an impact. I think it's very important, and I think it's much more easy to get to the people through deliciousness. Also, we take into consideration food waste. This is mamey, which is a beautiful big fruit, which we use not only the pulp of the fruit, but we use also the stone of the fruit. With the stone of the fruit, we do this cream and tastes like bitter almond. And this kind of knowledge, we get it not only from books or from other cuisines. For example, I worked many years with Italians, and I knew that I learned with them that the stones of the peaches have the bitter almond. So in that sense is when we tried all the stones of many fruits. And we had, of course, very bad moments and very bitter moments, like with avocado stone. But then it was very amazing to see that in the stone of the mamey, we can have an amazing flavor. And then no waste, which, of course, that makes a lot more interesting. This is a map drawn in the 50s by Miguel Covarrubias, which shows just how diverse Mexico is. It's really, really, for me, a privilege to be a chef and to work in Mexico, because there I have loads of material to work with. But if we don't take care of them, it's just disappearing. Many breeds are disappearing, and we always feel a threat as chefs with genetics and with other kind of things. However, we cannot let it go. We cannot leave it, and we cannot ignore it. And that's why I feel design is so important for us. So I don't know if you tried the insect. I don't know if you liked it. I hope you did. And thank you very much.
This is how